Keegs, Kyle, and Dan with you on an opening day Friday. Keegs, you're downtown. Is the energy palpable?
Kinda, it doesn't feel baseball-y yet. I was doing my morning commute, scrambling over to Starbucks in, like not warm enough clothing,
Mhm.
and it didn't feel very baseball-y, right? But we're getting there, man, and I think you're going to see it around the city a lot more. Like it's we've talked the last few weeks about how the Leafs are kind of down, kind of, but the
Kind of.
spotlight, as not a hockey guy, I don't want to overstate something, but it seems
Wow.
terrible. But that initial spotlight, it's not just about Blue Jays fans. They're always going to have Jays hats on and going to games. But I think you're going to see immediately, in a way we have not seen since the early 90s, you're going to see the fringe fans, the casual fans getting right into it right away. And it sounds like ticket sales are just through the roof. I think it's going to be full early. And this is going to be pretty cool, guys, because I think we're not going to see those Tuesday games with 13,000 people anymore. Like it's going to feel like a real team all season long. You don't have to wait for hockey to end.
Keegan, you're as tightly knit an observer of this baseball team as anyone. I normally am the type of person that skips opening ceremonies. I don't particularly like it, but I will be laser focused tonight as the Jays take the field, as the intros go on, and watching these players' faces, because few teams in all the sports history have come so close to winning a championship and falling short. What are you looking for on the faces of these men tonight?
It really is probably the closest a team has ever come to the World Series. You can make some arguments that another team might have been an inch closer, but there's no clear argument. Like the Jays are one of the closest teams ever in baseball to lose a World Series. And I think they've handled it really well, guys. There's no good way to handle it. This is all relative. There's no handbook for this. But I think that they are doing it the right way, which is to acknowledge that it was good, acknowledge that it sucked, number two, but also try to take some stuff from that and move forward. And we spoke to John Schneider yesterday at the media day, and he talked about how he's struggled with it a bit. And John Schneider's very open about this. Like he talked about how he still wakes up middle of the night. He's going over like, man, should I have done this? Should I have done that? He's still watching guys take BP and thinking in his head, like, oh, where was that swing in game 7 type of thing. It doesn't leave you. And for fans, I think fans are able to go to work the next day, go out and have a beer with their friends. Their mind leaves baseball for a minute. I don't think any of these guys have stopped thinking about it at all. And especially not a manager or a coach whose job is to be obsessive about this. So I'm hoping for them, just on a human level, they can appreciate the applause and the ovation they will get, and then just play a damn game of baseball. Finally. I think it's been 146 days since November 1st, game 7. And the only way you can get over this is playing another game of baseball. Like nothing else, no sports psychologist, no vacation to Cabo is going to get you over that. You just got to play another game of baseball. Whether you get your ass kicked or you win 20-1, another game of baseball is what starts this fresh. And I think the ceremony is going to be pretty special. They're in a good place where they understand they didn't win. They understand that sucks. But I think they can appreciate a little bit how much it mattered to people. And I hope that people will also show the players that, how much they appreciated what that meant.
You were bang on. It was 146 days ago, November 1st. Good job. Any surprises with the Blue Jays opening roster? It's been handed in.
No big ones, but Spencer Miles, the reliever. Like I know talking about a last reliever on the roster is not the buzziest thing in the world, but it's pretty cool, guys. Like Spencer Miles was their Rule 5 pick in December. He has not pitched above single A baseball before, okay? He's 25 years old, but he had multiple surgeries. I believe it was an arm surgery and a back surgery. So he just hasn't pitched. And he is far more mature than a player who has not pitched above single A. Like, this is not Elvis Luciano. Remember years back, they drafted an 18-year-old and they tried to big brain it. It almost worked. I don't know where Elvis Luciano is now. That guy spent his paychecks pretty quickly, I think. But there was a new diamond chain every week. But Spencer Miles coming in is really affirming whoever's idea that was. Okay, Spencer Miles at the time was not an obvious Rule 5 pick. He was a pick that when it was read out in the room, I took out my phone and Googled it and asked, what are they doing? This guy has not pitched above single A baseball, and you're going to try to get him into the big leagues. Someone in that room was smart, and they nailed it. And he looked really good in spring training. Now what you do is you give Spencer Miles the inning when you're up 10-1 already. Okay. He's not going to close a game, but you give him a bit of runway here. See if he can work. See if he can prove this. And if he can, that's great business. That's really good for your bullpen. Otherwise, Davis Schneider made sense to me. Leo Jimenez just did not do enough to grab a roster spot on this team. He will land somewhere in Chicago or Colorado or something, I'm sure. But this is the type of decision you've got to make when you're a good team. You're going to lose some big leaguers that you're not used to.
Elvis Luciano is playing in Japan. He's on the Yomiuri Giants development list.
I love it. There you go. What a story in the minor league affiliate of Kazuo Komodo's old team. But man, what a broken road that is. But he was fun for a bit. I still remember when he struck out Ross Atkins. Or sorry, let me tell you why I made that mistake. When he struck out Aaron Judge, because I remember when Ross Atkins had drafted Elvis Luciano in the Rule 5 draft, he said, no, we envision him striking out Aaron Judge someday. And I remember at the time thinking, you are out of your mind. And then when he struck out Aaron Judge at one point, I had to find Ross Atkins and say, hey, listen, I was wrong. You got it. You know, when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But that was a fun one while it lasted. But Spencer Miles, I think, will go a bit better than that one.
Quick sidebar, Keegan. Does that story you just tell change your mind at all after Aaron Judge's opening day flirtation with a platinum sombrero?
He's done. He's toast. He's toast.
Not the best start, but you know, he maybe he got on the phone with O'Neill Cruz and had a consolation.
What was O'Neill Cruz doing?
Fighting the sun and losing. He was fighting the sun. He was losing. Okay, so if you had to go through this Jays roster and pick, I mean, there's the obvious. We got the obvious A-listers, but if you had to pick a potential breakout star for this team this season, who's your money on?
Barger and Varsho, I think at this point. Barger is, I think, a more obvious one because the tools are massive. Okay, he hits the ball as hard as anyone outside of Vladdy. He throws the ball harder than just about anyone on the roster. I'm talking pitchers too, okay? He can crank it up to almost 100 miles an hour from the outfield. And if you put him on the mound, I bet you he could touch 100 miles an hour. So I think Addison Barger finally understands now that not every single day needs to be max effort, dripping sweat, 10 workouts, max, okay? I think he's finally learning that you can take a breather. You can let your own game do the work for you. Because if Barger just has a free and easy swing, it's gone. Okay, he doesn't need to do any extra work. He's that physically gifted. Then Dalton Varsho, who had 5 home runs in spring training, is motivated by a contract year. And guys, I've never had millions of dollars on the line work-wise. I'd probably do a better job if you told me I did today. So Dalton Varsho, I will bet on. And I think that him in a healthy season could position himself to be one of the best free agents next year. It's not a good class. So he can make himself a ton of coin this year. And he looks great. I think he's in a very good spot mentally. So those are the two I look to. One of them needs to pop, okay? The quantity is the approach you need. Let's consider Kazuo Komodo in this as well. Out of Barger, Varsho, and Okamoto, you need one of them to make that jump that George Springer did last year. You can't bet on George to do that back-to-back. I think he'll be more in the middle. But you need one more guy to have that big jump, and I think it comes from that group of 3.
Last year in the postseason, all of baseball got to see the one flaw that the Jays had because every single game we saw Louis Varland. You looked at the pen, and you're like, there's got to be other options. Have they fixed that problem and don't have to go to Louis Varland every single game this year?
God, I hope so. I think Louis Varland was in 17 of the games in the postseason last year. It was nuts. And this year, adding Tyler Rogers is a huge part of that. He'll pitch in 80 games. He's the submarine guy. He will not wow you by throwing 100. Who cares? He will quietly be one of the better relievers in baseball. I'm pretty confident. I think Mason Fluharty is going to be way more important than anyone expects. You have Brendan Little, who's looked good. Varland's still there. Jeff Hoffman, I think, bounces back a bit. And Jimmy Garcia's on his way back. I was looking, guys, at last year's bullpen on opening day, and Danny Barnes and Richard Lovelady were in the bullpen. And I didn't believe it, but it was also my own story. So I didn't really remember writing that or covering either of those relievers. Apparently I did, right? So it's going to change a lot. But for day one, step one, the Blue Jays are in a hell of a lot better place than they were last year. There is more upside. There's more dependability here. And you don't have to wear guys out right away. It also helps, guys, that the rotation sorted itself out. Otherwise, you might have had to bump Eric Lauer, maybe even Jose Barrios awkwardly into the bullpen. Then you only have 5 or 6 true relievers, and it just gets screwy really quickly. So 8 regular relievers starting out makes a ton of sense. Spencer Miles, you can keep him in some softer spots for now, but you've got a legitimate middle group, a legitimate back end group. And if the Blue Jays are good this year, which I think they absolutely will be, you go out at the deadline and you find another Varland, another Sir Anthony Dominguez pretty easily and turn it into a great group.
You know, you've just covered all of the good things going into the season here, but what is this team's biggest need heading into 2026?
Man, they do just need one more bat to pop. I know I talked about it a bit with Varsho and Barger and Okamoto. They need another success story offensively. The rotation, I think, is better, period. Like, even with 3 injuries to a guy who's won a Cy Young, to your 3-time opening day starter and the great Trey Savage, like, it's still a better rotation, which is wild. The depth they have and the talent they have in this rotation, it can be one of the best in baseball. And I feel very good about that group. But when you look at the lineup, you need it to be something better than average. It can't be the number 15 offense in baseball. You got to be in the top 10 if you want to make a run at this. And you need the upside from someone. The easy answer is that Vladdy just goes off and nothing else matters. You know, Vladdy can take care of this whole conversation all by himself. But if you run into health issues, which the Blue Jays did a pretty good job of avoiding last year. I know Varsho and Jimenez missed some time, but everyone stepped in and it worked. You know, you didn't have any real craters on the roster. Anthony Santander got hurt, but his numbers weren't good, so it didn't impact the success of the team. They've got to stay healthy, like anyone, but they've got to stay healthy because even when you look at the infield, there's not much depth there. The Blue Jays are starting the season with essentially just 4 infielders. Barger coming in from the outfield and Schneider coming in from the outfield. That's their backup infield, which is a little clunky, frankly, right now. So need to stay healthy, and someone's got to be the success story. It can't be George Springer having a career renaissance 2 years in a row. Someone else has to be that pleasant surprise.
I just wanted to point out that we aren't bandwagon jumpers. We have been here since spring training 2 years ago. Keegs, you've been with us every single week since spring training last year. I only bring this up because I think we're going to see a lot more coverage of the Jays this year. And that means in today's day and age, a lot more Jays content creators.
The word content, which if I could put a bullet in that word and bury it, I would. You know, a painting and a TikTok video and a well-written story are not the same thing. But alas, we use the word content. This is my thing that I'm so annoying about, and I know nobody will agree or enjoy it. But there will be more content, my lord. Some of it will be good. Some of it will be terrible. Some of it will be AI, and your mom and uncle won't know the difference. So it's interesting to see the different ways this team is covered. You know, I was down at the Dome a couple of mornings ago where they do the ballpark tour. And I went in, guys, like, very honestly, I went in to do a story on the new historical artifacts the Jays have in there.
You took some great photos.
And hey, and I think they did a fantastic job with that again. But I went down because I have been hard on the team over the years, saying they did not do a good enough job with that. When they do a good job with it, I've got to show up and write about that too. So I think I need to balance that out. But the rest of that tour was kind of, you know, here's the new Rogers Terrace, here's the new hot dogs and Uncrustables food. I kind of skipped that. You know, that's not my scene. You know, that's for the TikTokers, and that's cool. You know, we can all live in harmony, I think. But, you know, you do eventually get to a stage. We're not there yet, but I've seen it at all-star games and playoffs where, you know, I'm waiting for a player to interview them for my story, and they're answering questions about what their favorite candy bar is for a TikToker. And I, you know, I need to check myself sometimes. Okay. And it's, we can all get along. We can all live in harmony, but, that harmony may be more difficult to find for me on some days these days because it's crowded, guys. It's crowded.
But we do have to say what they all say. You please like and subscribe.
Oh yeah, smash the subscribe button.
Smash that subscribe button.
Guys, we need to start posting these videos with like the reaction face cut out of all of us just going. like this with some sensational headline that's nothing related to what we're actually talking about. Okay.
Yeah,
let's
like the
start
Jays
lying to
shouldn't,
people.
like the Jays shouldn't raise the AL East banner.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of bozos if they do that.
O'Toole said, "What?" And we're all
See you in the
shocked.
chat, fam.
It's a different world. Maybe if I was 5 or 10 years younger, I'd get it, but it's not my world. I'm just trying to be a happy person living in that world, I guess.
Well, anyone looking for more Toronto Sports Rush content knows the answers to subscribe, but I think there's a more pressing question a lot of our viewers might have, Keegan, and I'm going to ask you to educate everyone on behalf of Toronto Sports Rush. If you go on Bet Rivers right now and you look at some odds for tonight's baseball game, it is listed as the Athletics at the Toronto Blue Jays. And every other team has a city before their name. The Athletics do not. So for our viewers that don't know, where the heck is this team based out of?
They're a team without a country. They are in Sacramento now. And I don't know if I'm making the Sacramento trip this year. Now, like, this is eventually headed to Las Vegas, which has been a bit of a winding road. Maybe that's the way I'll put it. From Oakland, now stopping over in Sacramento, and then eventually this all ends happily in Las Vegas. We'll see. But they're playing out of Sacramento now, and it's kind of like the Blue Jays with their Buffalo days, playing out of a park that's more geared for minor leagues. And I think, guys, that's the stadium where John Schneider had that long ejection through the center field fence last year, which for me is just a career-defining moment for John Schneider. So it's a little wacky. It's a little different, but the A's are a cool team, guys. I keep saying it, but like, if I was just getting into baseball or if I was playing a video game, starting a franchise, like, their young talent is really cool, and they got a lot more on the way. So it's going to be fun to keep an eye on them. I hope they keep spending, because the A's are one of those teams. Like, I think back to the classic A's teams. Like, they can be really cool when they're good, but you got to get into a big league ballpark first. So for now, they are simply the Athletics of no known address.
Poor Sacramento fans. They're like, you're here and you can't even put it. It's like showing up at a dinner party with someone and you don't claim them as your girlfriend or your partner. And you're just like, family. Yeah, that's my friend. And you're like, wait.
We're hanging out,
Or when you're on a vacation and you don't post the person who paid for the vacation, you just post all the pictures
their
yourself
on a glass.
Yeah, there's a little hand on the glass across the table.
We've all seen it.
Thanks, Keegs. We'll be here after the opener tonight.
Can't wait.
See you then.